Every time I fly on a 747 these days, I'm a little bit worried that it might actually be my last time. Airlines are decommissioning them, and in this post-COVID era, it really feels like every time I get the chance to fly on what is my favourite aircraft of all time, sadly, it might actually be a bit of a farewell. But there's one airline here in Germany who've got a very different idea about the future of the 747.
I've loved the 747 for many years now, and I've made quite a few videos about it already on this channel. And so I was really excited to fly on board Lufthansa's 747, and of course anytime you're flying in business class, well, it's a real privilege and I'm very lucky to be able to do it. But little did I know that today's flight was actually going to turn out to be one of the more awkward and slightly more uncomfortable experiences that I've had in business class for some time.
So I'm flying with Lufthansa today on one of their 747s from here in Frankfurt Airport out to Singapore. And along the way, not only am I going to show you the 747, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about why Lufthansa are actually investing in this brilliant aircraft. What do you reckon? He's smart, but he doesn't say a lot. I've got myself here in the lounge a Beck's beer, a pretzel and some hummus, because Germany. Now the 747 first flew in the 1970s and Lufthansa have actually got 19 of them. Now the average age of their 747s is actually not too old, it's about 15 years. And some of the 747-400s, the older ones that they have, they're actually planning to retire those over the next few years. But it's the 747-800, the newer variant, which are the aircraft which Lufthansa are actually actively looking to invest back into with their new seating product, which I'll talk to you about once we're on board. Those 747-400s that are being retired, unfortunately they're not being replaced with more 747-800s. Those ones are actually going to be replaced by the Boeing 777. But for now, it does feel like Lufthansa are pretty much the only airline out there who A, have got a big enough 747 fleet to talk about, but B, are also investing back into it to keep the 747s flying, well, for the foreseeable future. Oh, Dankeschön. If there are any Germans watching, I do want to apologise quickly for dipping my pretzel in hummus, but I really like pretzels, I really like hummus, and I'm kind of on holiday so I can do what I want. Now, Lufthansa keeping their 747s on board is a big deal because, as I said earlier, many airlines are actually retiring them. You've got Qantas, British Airways, two of the big players who don't operate any 747s at all anymore. There's really only 4 airlines you can fly with if you do want to fly the 747, and that is Lufthansa, obviously, who I'm with today, Air China, Korean Air and Russia. Right, if you haven't tried it, don't judge it.
The 747-800 is around 16% more fuel efficient than the 400 variant. But despite it being less fuel efficient, of course, than something like a Boeing 777 or the Airbus A350, because fuel prices have been dropping since COVID, the efficiency disadvantage of the 747 is actually a little bit less impactful right now. And because Lufthansa haven't got the maximum commercial payback from them, that's why I believe they've chosen not to retire these aircraft, but to start a refurbishment process on them instead.
Now you may have heard of Allegris. This is the name of the new seating product that Lufthansa are rolling out across many of their aircraft. And the 747 is one of them. That is getting the Allegris touch, but with a few exceptions.
Is there any way to see each of us as an individual? There is. It's called Allegris.
Now this is not just for business and first class, but it actually touches every cabin class on their aircraft, with new seating designs for economy, premium economy, business class, and their flagship first class suites as well. But the 747 poses quite a unique problem for Lufthansa, and that's because of its upper deck. Now it's easy to put Allegris into the bottom deck because that's basically just like any other aircraft, but because of the curved fuselage on the top deck, Allegris basically won't fit. The upper deck is treated as its own cabin, which needs a separate process for installing and certifying the Allegris seats. So Lufthansa has to treat the 747 basically as 2 separate cabins. And until they can solve the problem and get certification for the upper deck, the new Allegris product is only going to go into the lower deck of the 747s. And so if you are flying a 747 anytime in the future with Lufthansa, even if it's upgraded to Allegris, there's a likelihood that you're still going to get the old business class product if you book a seat on the upper deck, which unfortunately is where I'm flying today.
For flight time to Singapore, 11 hours and 20 minutes. Kindly make sure that your hand baggage is stowed safely and does not block an aisle or emergency exit. Together with my whole team, I wish you a pleasant stay on board the bus. Thank you.
We took off from Changi Airport, and then this is the part in the video where I would normally show you the business class product. I'd show you the slippers, the mattress, the in-flight entertainment system, all the stuff that you get in the amenities kit. When I said that this was an uncomfortable and awkward flight, well, that's mainly just for one single reason, and that's the design of the seat itself. The cabin on the upper deck is a 2-2 configuration, and as I was travelling on my own today, that means I'm sitting next to someone who I don't know. Normally, not an issue, but this seat has basically no divide between you and the person next to you. Yes, there's a small table to your left in my case, because I was sitting on the right, and a tiny divider to speak of, but apart from that, there's no divide between you and the person next to you. As well as that, the back of these seats is actually pretty low, so if you have a row in front of you, you end up staring just at the back of their heads and everything that they're doing on the flight. And of course, conversely, the people behind you are staring at the back of your head for the whole of the flight. And then down by your feet, there's this very small divider between the 2 footwells, but that's it. So when it came to sleeping and the seats were extended into beds, I found that I was banging knees and touching the person next to me. It's basically like being in a double bed with a complete stranger, which I guess was fine in your 20s, but I don't really want that at my age. When I posted on Instagram about Lufthansa business class, there were 2 main bits of feedback that I saw. First of all, people told me that it's better than economy, which I understand. My question is not, is it a better experience than economy? It's, is it good value for money for someone who wants to book business class? And the second comment was, well, if you know the person next to you, it's not actually that bad an experience. And I would agree with that. But for me, privacy is a really important part of business class. And the fact you have to climb over the person next to you to get out to the overhead lockers or toilets, and the fact that for 11 hours in a business class product that I did pay a fair amount of money for, did make this, for me at least, one of the more uncomfortable business class experiences that I've had in a long time.
About to leave our cruising altitude and starting our approach into Singapore. The remaining flight time around 30 minutes, which means we are estimating our arrival to be well ahead of time. Latest Singapore weather report indicates some clouds in the sky and the temperature around 30 degrees on the Celsius scale. I do hope you still feel comfortable aboard with us. Wish you a pleasant stay for the remainder of the flight. Later on, a nice day in the Singapore area, or a pleasant sail on board ship. Thank you very much for listening.
So what could you do if you have to fly a similar route in the future? Well, if you are flying between Europe and Singapore, the first thing I'd suggest is probably go Singapore Airlines. Their business class product has a 1-to-1 configuration, which means if you are traveling on your own, you do get that privacy, and the business class product, it's just better. Secondly, look for Allegris if it has been rolled out onto one of the Lufthansa aircraft, although from what I've read and heard from other viewers, that rollout is actually going a little bit slower than initially expected.
Welcome to the airport of Singapore, ladies and gentlemen. Please.
The third thing you can do is, if it's possible, travel with somebody, because like if I had my wife sitting next to me, this whole thing probably wouldn't have been an issue.
We'd like to thank you for traveling Lufthansa and the Star Alliance today.
But fourthly, if you are traveling on your own, then I guess you just have to accept that it's possibly not going to get better anytime soon. You can hopefully, as I was trying to do, enjoy the fact that you're still lucky to be flying on one of the greatest airliners that's ever been made.
When making videos on YouTube about business class products, you've really got to approach it with a real sense of perspective. At the end of the day, I was flown for 10 to 11 hours on an aircraft all the way from Frankfurt to Singapore, safely, on time, and with lovely staff who looked after me and brought me food. But of course it comes down to value for money. So for me, would I pay the money again to fly with Lufthansa in their old business class product if it still meant I could fly one more time again on the 747? Well, the answer is no. I don't think you get that value for money in the old business class product that they currently have. When Allegris comes in and it's on both the lower and upper decks of the 747, then it's a whole different question. But for the foreseeable future, whilst the upper deck is still going to be that old business class, if you're travelling as a couple, perhaps, but if you're a solo traveller, no, I actually wouldn't recommend that you spend your money on that business class product, even if it means you can get to fly on the 747.